Welcome, Harvey Cursley. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a little while since we've caught up on camera. You're into your second season of Junior Saloon Car Championship racing. But first of all, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's not long come off the Castle Coombe weekend, so feeling fresh out of a race meeting. So still quite a lot of mixed emotions, but feeling mainly good about it.
Yeah, it's obviously a busy time. The season's well underway. You obviously mentioned coming off the back of a weekend. I know we've got lots to talk about, but just touching on that very quickly. Once you get through a race weekend, whether it's been a good one or a bad one, what is that sort of, I guess, come down process like afterwards? Is there a lot of emotions to kind of work out, and is there a lot going on in your head after a weekend of racing like that?
Yeah, I mean the Monday after is really just a lot of sleeping, and then
Hmm.
once we get over that, you sort of go over it with mum and dad and just think about how you did, and it really depends on how the weekend's gone. It's just really different every time.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously sleeping and resting up. How draining is a race weekend? Not just physically, driving these cars, but also mentally. How much of that is quite challenging? What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, because my dad owns his own team, I'm there having to help him set up, obviously, because I've got to do it because he pays for all the racing and sponsors as well. But yeah, as I've got to help him do all the awning, got to obviously do the racing, got to do everything, and it's a lot of effort, but it's really worth it. And but mentally, it's quite good. It sort of breaks the cycle of just going to school, work, and then going back, having a weekend, and that's it. Because I don't, we always say we couldn't do that. We have to do racing or something in the middle.
Hmm.
It's we would get bored otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair enough. I'm gonna, if that's all right, I'm gonna go straight back to the start. Obviously, last year was a pretty big one for you. It was your first season in not just for junior saloon cars, but car racing as a whole. You made that very big jump up to cars from karting. How would you sum up that first season as a whole? Because there was lots of learning, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the first season. It's difficult because going from karts to cars, it's a very different. You're going from rear wheel to front wheel. Well, in my case, it was, but yeah, it's definitely a great thing to do. I'd definitely say if you can and if it's possible, go into cars as fast as possible because once you're in it, you've got loads of paths to branch off to, and the first year it's really helped me develop everything in my skills because there were so many mixed conditions, there's big grids, all the amazing drivers as well. It's definitely helped me so much.
And you obviously you're still in the junior saloon cars now. What were they like? For your first year, because it's a great place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last year we got I think it was the biggest grid in a junior racing. We broke their record and all the other record, like in Janaires and Fiesta, for the biggest grid. So it was definitely a good thing to be part of, and it was just a good experience. Like the people, like the paddock, and just the way they run it was good.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great place to start. But like you said, lots to learn. But moving into this year, it must have been a nice confidence booster. Coming into the season, you had a whole year of racing under your belt. And you've kind of you can go to a circuit and remember what you did last time out. How important was overall seat time? How important is it just getting out on track and practicing more than anything?
Yeah, seat time in this, well, in anything, and you go into it is so important because there's some drivers that are out every week, and then there's some that just get the Friday and the race. But yeah, it's very important, but it's also the driver because you could be a great driver with no testing and still get somewhere, or you could be a bad driver with no testing, no, with loads of testing, and you still won't be as high up. But just that was last year's last round, so we're still relatively new off that, and it felt really good to go back because Brands Hatch is a good track. Everyone loves it, don't they?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, it was. I think we got 7th in that, didn't we, man? So yeah, it was pretty good round that was.
Yeah, no, good. And since then, you've been learning more, more seat time under your belt. How would you say overall the season's gone for you so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We've definitely come to grips with the pace. We're a lot closer than we were last year with the front runners. Still got a lot of time to find, but Dad's always doing his best he can to just get everything together. He's doing a good job of it. We've seen the pace keep growing. It's definitely going a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Is it nice, I know it's still early days in your car racing career, but is it nice now? Is it nice now, like looking back, um, but seeing the progress you've made? Because I've been able to see, right back from the start on that very cold day in April last year at Snetterton, your first test, which it was the start of April, wasn't it? And it was absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
Right to, that first race weekend at Cadwell to, throughout the summer last year. I mean, obviously the end of the season last year at Brands Hatch to where you are now. Is it cool now looking back on all that development, and seeing your journey so far?
Yeah, it is. I was like the other day, I was looking back at some of the footage from Cadwell. I was like, oh, there's so many gaps I could have gone for if I just if I was just confident. You look back at it and think, yeah, I didn't realise it then, but I've developed and grown so much from then.
As a driver, you mentioned looking back on footage. Obviously, I know a lot of drivers use that footage to improve and see where you can make up time and stuff. But you said like they're looking back on what you could have done. Do you ever look back on footage and think, oh, why didn't stuff go like that? Or are you very much kind of focused on the next race, focused on the future?
Yeah, we're definitely focused on the future. We look back at it a bit and think, oh well. But you sort of got to let them races go and just move on to the next one and just be laser focused on it, really.
Is it we spoke about sort of the mindset and the challenges of racing. Is it a challenge when things aren't always going your way or you're having difficult weekends? Is it difficult to keep up the motivation? And you obviously said with you guys being a family run team, there's a lot of effort that needs to go in before a wheel is even turned on the track. So what's that process like for you as a driver?
Yeah, I mean, like if something happens on track, yeah, it gets to you and it's it puts you down, but you've just sort of got to like just forget about it. It's harder to do than say, but you really do have to forget about it, or it's just if you carry it into the next race, it's just going to go wrong. It's bound to. You're sort of predicting that it's going to go wrong, but if you let it go, like at Castle yeah, I didn't have the best first race, and I didn't feel the best about it, but just got a good bit of sleep. Went into the next race fresh and just kept going, and it worked, and we made up to a lot of places.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear. It's certainly a challenge with how quickly not just the race weekends, arrive, but also on, race day, you have multiple races in the day. It's important, A, to move on from difficult races if you have them, like you say, but B, I guess, get home safe because there's often not much turnaround time to fix damage. And I suppose in a tin top series, it can be quite challenging with contact and stuff like that. And I suppose that's another thing you had to learn after moving up from karting because it's a bit more elbows out in these kind of cars, isn't it? What's that process been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, luckily with the junior saloons, the car like it's all close racing. It's not you won't see people just properly hitting each other. Well, you'll get the odd one, obviously,
Hmm.
but but yeah, it's really close. But the main damage you'd get is just sort of tire marks down the side or just something like that.
Yeah,
It's really not. It's really not major. It's not the worst.
yeah, yeah. No, that's fair enough. You obviously mentioned Brands Hatch being a circuit that we all enjoy. Have you picked up a favourite track yet, or have you still got to sort of have a bit more time to decide?
It's quite a hard question that.
I think a lot of
Uh,
drivers say whatever, wherever I'm quick, they're not too fussed. But have you got a personal preference?
I quite like Donington, but I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to Alton Park. I haven't done it, but
Okay.
on the sim, it looks great, and everyone says it is, don't they?
Yeah, it looks. I mean, I've only been once to spectate, and we've obviously got the BTCC going there this weekend, which should be good. But it's very much a tester of brakes, I think, with the stop-start bits, the chicanes, the hairpins. What's it been like learning so many different tracks and styles of circuits? Because here in the UK, they're all pretty different. You can't compare the likes of Snetterton with Castle Combe, with Cadwell, with Donington, with Brands. Do you know what I mean? They're all quite different. What's that process been like, sort of going into the unknown, I guess, a bit more last year? What's that all been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, last year the first round was Cadwell, so we basically just got chucked into the deep end with all the elevation and
Mm.
like braking downhill. Is that's Cadwell is arguably probably the hardest track we do, and a lot of people would do. But then you get to somewhere like Snetterton, it's all just sort of flat,
Mhm.
and it's quite weird to go from one extreme to another, and you think, oh, this is quite different and not as exhilarating. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, not as fun, but
yeah.
it's quite good.
Yeah, you can have a bit of a nap and a zone out down the long straights at Snetterton compared to Cadwell, which is essentially a mini Nürburgring.
Don't get
Something I wanted to something I wanted to touch on briefly, if you don't mind, before we move on and speak about the rest of the season, is ahead of this weekend you had the amazing opportunity to be coached by Bobby Thompson, who regular viewers of the channel will know from his amazing time in the BTCC so far. What was that like for you? Because what a great opportunity to learn from someone like him. Because I mean, he showed the other week when, well, we saw each other at Snetton, didn't he? Didn't we?
yeah,
But he was there back in the BTCC then. He showed everyone he can get the job done, and he's a good peddler. What was that experience like for you?
yeah. It was a really good experience. He we sort of had him in late, didn't we? Well, I was saying didn't we? I'm sitting over there, but yeah, we had him in late, and he, he's he managed to get himself to the test day, and when he did, he was such a good coach. Like on track, we didn't have the radio, but he was so clear with everything he did, and even off track, he explained everything to a T. And he was such a good coach. I mean, you could see the developments in my driving over the day. He was really noticeable, and
Mm,
overall, I think he's just a really nice coach. He's a really nice person. As a person, you see some of these drivers, they're a bit like you try to talk to him and they're like, yeah, yeah. But he proper gets involved and has a conversation with you. He's a really nice man.
yeah, no, it's good to hear. I interviewed him last month, and he on that day he was coaching another driver for a different junior category, and you see a lot of professional drivers doing that. Do you think one day that'll be you? Do you think you'll want to sort of pay it forward and help out sort of the next generation, which is slightly scary to think that because it's such a long time in advance. But do you know what I mean? Do you think you'd that's something you'd want to do as well as racing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, me, mum, and dad, we've talked about that. We want me to get into coaching because one, it's helping other drivers, and two, you sort of even if you aren't racing yourself, you're staying in the paddock with everyone else. So
Hmm.
it's always a good thing to get into.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing, final thing I'll touch on with Bobby Thompson is something that I've definitely picked up on is how he's so good at adapting between different cars. Just in BTCC in the last year or so. Last season he was in a front wheel drive Team Hard Coupe Leon, and now this year, the one-off weekend he's done so far, hopefully he will be back. It was in a rear wheel drive BMW 3 Series. How important is that as a driver to be able to adapt to everything really, because it's constantly changing. And you mentioned earlier the contrast and the huge difference between, a front wheel drive junior saloon car and a rear wheel drive go kart. How important is that for you as a driver to be able to adapt and fit for different situations?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a coach, it's probably one of the most important things you have to know. Obviously, you got to know the basics of driving, if not more. And luckily, I've only had that one switch. But like last year, I didn't do any karting, but I did one test day.
Yeah.
And going back to karting after probably a year off, it was quite weird and it's quite a different thing to feel because I was like, because you sort of forget about it after a while and you forget how to drive it. you get back in it and you feel like you're back in new to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of the top drivers, they stay in karting just for driver development. It's a cheaper way of doing it.
Yeah.
But we didn't really do that, and it felt quite weird when I did get back into it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's a familiarity thing, isn't it? But I suppose there's always going to be a bit of you that remembers what it's like even without practice. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to get karting at some point soon because I've not been in ages, and I want to know if I can remember how to do it. But thinking back to your season, obviously where are we now? We're mid-June now, so we're a decent amount of the way through the year, but still plenty of races, some great circuits coming up. What are your thoughts on the season up ahead?
Yeah, I mean, we were at Thruxton, I think, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Hyundais there, the truck meeting. That was a really good meeting last year. We was there with the Hyundais, I think it was. And in Thruxton, it's the fastest one in the country, isn't it? So
Yeah.
in a Saxo, even though you're not going that fast, it's still a good thing to do because going a fast bit into like the slowest point of the track, you think, whoa, this is quite a difference. But Thruxton, like, I don't know what round is after that. What is it? But yeah, don't really know what's after that.
I know we've got Snetterton right at the end of the summer, which should be good. But you know, like we said earlier, it's another contrast between those two circuits. You've touched on your family run team. That Thruxton weekend must be a busy one because you got the junior saloon cars to run as well as obviously Hyundai Cup cars that you mentioned. That's mega effort from your family to get all those cars out and running throughout the weekend. I bet that's, I guess, fun, rewarding, but more than anything, quite stressful, I imagine. What's that like for you? And I suppose mainly your dad, who's probably running here, there, and everywhere to get it all going.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's stressful because it doesn't help that the juniors are in the garages for that weekend, and then the Hyundais are out in the paddock. So we got to spread everything out in two places at once,
Right. Okay.
and that's sort of yeah. He's got lots of mechanics. We've got the awnings obviously for the Hyundais, but mum and dad are putting so much effort into just getting everyone out, everyone happy, and getting what they want out of it. But dad's having a rest at the moment. Well, his rest is mowing the lawn, but
Right.
so that's his way of calming down from the weekend. He just goes out, does garden. He likes that.
Brilliant. Well, it's still a different type of drive and a bit more slower paced. And for once, you want to stay on the grass aside from compared to avoid it. You mentioned obviously all the effort that goes in. I think that's one of the things that with motorsport that you don't really kind of consider because you don't get it with the likes of football. You kind of just turn up and play your match and go home. You don't have to do all this setup stuff. Can you sort of explain the kind of hours and the efforts that teams, whether it's a family run team like you or something a bit bigger, what's that kind of whole process like around a weekend, during, before, after? What's that all like? Because I didn't realize until I got involved with motorsport a bit more the amount of hard work and time and effort that teams have to put in to make everything work.
Yeah, I mean, Castle Combe was especially stressful because it was like right at the tail end of the GCSE period. So
Mm.
we went, luckily, we didn't have any GCSEs Wednesday, Thursday. So we went down Wednesday to set up, and then testing was on the Thursday, which is a day earlier than it would normally be.
Mm-hmm.
So so that was a lot earlier into the week. And then we had to go back home for the Friday to do an exam and then
Mm-hmm.
come back. But the annual setup day is so much work that goes into it, especially if we've got both of the Hyundais and the Saxos there, because we've got to bring all the spares, all the awnings, all the hospitality, and all the cars as well. Because the cars we've got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Prepping them, isn't it?
Yeah, there's weeks into prepping, getting the cars just race ready, and yeah, that's what a lot of people don't see is the work that goes into it,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And that's another thing you mentioned there was GCSEs, which is another thing that you just wouldn't consider. You see all you guys going out and racing, but that's another kind of stress and thing for all you drivers to consider in a junior championship, which I suppose it's another kind of unique aspect to the series where it runs alongside all of your studies as well. You must be looking forward to, in the future, kind of being able to just focus on your racing and then coaching aside from, and not so much your school and studies and stuff. As important as it is, it's still another factor for you to think about, which makes it even more of a challenge, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was my last day of school.
Wow.
So for Thruxton, we're set. I don't have to go into school, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Dad's got work, Mum's got work, but I'm all right. I'm not worrying about getting everything done for each exams and racing.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well done you for getting through it. I know it's a weird time, and even more so, I guess, with having all of the other stresses and work going on with racing. I won't keep you for too much longer. But overall, have you got, we've got a fair few races left of the season. Have you got any particular aims going into them? Obviously, you've got the new challenge with Alton Park. You've got the fun of Thruxton. You've got the lengthy challenge that is Snetterton. What have you got a particular aim for all of those?
I mean, yeah, Dad's especially putting a lot more effort in because, yeah, we're getting places, but we're not the top 5. But that's where we really want to aim for. Like me and Bertie did great at Castle Coombe weekend. He got, I think, 6th in the first race, and he was really high up in qualifying. I mean, I got, I think, 12th. I don't know, 11th. That's it. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's especially. Yeah, we're aiming for a lot higher up, and we are eventually getting there. So it should be really good. And Dad's working day and night just to get everything done and ready and how we want it.
Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear. Well, I look forward to seeing how the rest of the year unfolds, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you and the team continue to progress up the grid. It's been a great story to watch so far, right from, like I said, that freezing cold test day at Snetterton last April. Do you want to just take a minute? If you've got anyone you'd like to thank, mention, and a time to sort of give some shout outs to people and sponsors?
Yeah, I mean, Lancaster Insurance, they've been my title sponsor for all of my racing. I mean, even in karting, they still helped out a little bit. And then Your Irish Shop, I think yourishshop.com, got Lancaster's, Alco. They've all helped me out so much during my racing. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do it. And big thanks to Mum and Dad, obviously, because I wouldn't be doing it without them either. And John Winter.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously a big shout out to all our marshals as well. I think that goes without saying for whether you're a driver or someone interviewing like me, because if they weren't there, we'd all be out of a job, wouldn't we? But thank you very much, Harvey, for coming on the show for a chat. It's always good to have a catch up. It's good to see what you're up to, and I'm glad that you got through your exams and your school stuff, so we can all focus on the fun bit now, which is the motorsport. I look forward to seeing you hopefully very soon. But until then, best of luck for the upcoming weekends and enjoy Thruxton.
Yeah, right. Also, thank you for your support through all of my racing, really.
Yeah, no worries at all. And hopefully see you soon.
See ya.